twirling. Yisolele. Oh, yeah. Betwabble. Okay, boom. We live on YouTube, y'all. All right, beautiful people. Happy Wednesday, guys. I'm so excited about today. Why? Because it's new moon. It's a new moon. I'm excited about actually going out and watching it today. So hopefully the skies are kind of clear. They look pretty clear, matter of fact, right now. But I'm hoping later on, as the moon begins to gain a portion of her light, I am so hoping that it will not be cloudy in the western sky so I can take a glimpse of it. I actually want to take pictures today, and hopefully I can get some good ones. I'm going to see if I can get a picture of the disc. It's going to be after I get off here. But the sun always rises over the tennis court over here. But a couple years ago, I actually caught it and didn't realize it until I was really staring at my picture. I was like, oh, snap. Look at this. And it was then that I realized and started paying attention during the day that the moon is out at the beginning of the month during the day. Like you know how you just driving, you just see it, but it doesn't click until you actually realize it. And so, but yeah, so now I'm watching. Am I going to blow? Tiffany, that's funny that you said that, because I said I was going to blow my shofar today when I saw it. So the answer to your question is yes. I'm gonna have right by me. I might have I don't know. Well, I'm gonna blow it, but Isaiah loves to blow the shofar, so he'll blow it. I'll blow it too. Peace and blessings, all y'all. Peace and blessings. Yes, had a great day of rest. I hope everybody had a great day of rest if you were able to take it off. All right, y'all. So happy Wednesday. It is January the 13th, 2021. And today actually begins the 11th month of the year as Yahuah teaches us to reckon time. All right, y'all. So today we are going to be reading. Oh, shoot. I didn't take my days. It is day 49. Sorry, hold on. I didn't write it. That's why I forgot it. Day 49 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 718. 718 days that we have been consecutively reading through the words of the Most High, except on the Sabbath days. On the Sabbath days, we rest, right? Okay. So today we're reading Exodus 19, 20, and 21. Then we're going to hop over into the legends of the Jews. All right, beautiful people. So let's go ahead and get this pulled up. I'm going to do the Shema. I didn't forget. Shema YisraEL, Yahuah Eloheinu, Yahuah Echad. Hear therefore, Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, and the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel. Pay attention, people. Israel, listen. I need your attention. Pay attention and listen to what the Most Holy is saying to us. Hear, O Israel. Yahuah, our God, He is one God. And you shall love Yahuah, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them as a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. What have we learned? That the hand and that the frontlets between the eyes mean the hand represents the action. The frontlets between your eyes represents your thought. Remember, thought drives action. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the posts of your house and on your gates, meaning we command our household in the ways of Yah. And Yahuah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuah our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuah our God, as he has commanded us. Thank you, Shayla. All right, y'all. So let's pull this up. Exodus. Okay, y'all. pull it up. Bible Gateway. So that's. Oh, and today, y'all, hold on. 19. Yeah, because it starts at, let me make a note. Okay, so pay attention today. I just thought about it when I was typing it in. Actually, right here, they're out in the wilderness, but actually right here, pay attention, because this is where, at least in the book of Exodus, this is where the meat of the law is given to Israel, right? And pay attention. I want you to actually listen to this, because this is the whole reason why we got started, and why I believe Yahuah said, I want you to read it. Just read it, because a lot of people don't actually read. And if they do read it, they probably read through it once, and they may not read through it word for word all the time. That's why he said, keep reading it over and over. And those who listen will listen, and hopefully you will develop the habit of actually going to read it on your own and seeing what the Most Holy is actually saying himself. And we'll see that none of what he has told us to do in any generation is hard to do at all. So, but here's where, once we get to chapter 20, I believe it's Exodus chapter 20 to, I want to say it's 24. That's like the meat of the instructions and everything up until, I believe it's chapter 31. It includes the laws for the temple and the priest, but that's suspended, guys. We're in captivity, but everything else can be kept. And Yahuah destroyed the temple on purpose to get the people. They're trying to wake them up from the pagan worship, right? He destroyed it on purpose because they weren't keeping the commands wholly from their heartfelt. They got into the idol worship and stuff, and now they just began to do these things and keep the feast out of religious reasons. Oh yeah, we kept the Sabbath. We kept the Feast of Trumpets. Yes, Day of Atonement, but they're still living like the sons and daughters of hell, right? So that's what we don't want to do. And that's a part of the new covenant that Yahuah said that he was going to do for us. And it was going to begin to happen while we were in the land of our captivity, right? That we will begin to turn back to him in the lands where we were scattered and begin keeping his commands again, right? And he said, this time, he said, I'm not going to give them the covenant as I gave to their forefathers in the wilderness when I put it upon tablets. He said, this time I'm going to give them that same exact law that they're going to keep. He said, this time I am going to write it on their hearts. And that's the only thing about Yahuah's covenant that has changed. Not a single word, jot nor tittle has changed from it. The only thing that he said he was changing about it, he said this time he's not giving it to us on tablets. Nobody's going to give us tablets to read. We got that. He said this time is going to be inscribed on the fibers of our heart. Why? Because while we're in captivity and all manner of evil has happened to us that he said was going to happen to us because we turned away from it, we're going to begin searching for him and looking for him and going back to the law that he gave our forefathers to keep. And we're going to take it in. It's going to become a part of us, and it's going to begin to speak to us, and it's going to lead us and guide us into all truth. So guys, that's it. That's why we'll be like the Malakis. You got that right. Aliyah. Some people ain't ready for that yet. But yes, Malakis is another word, or Malakim. Malakis or Malakim is another word for angels. So and Yahuah says that when they begin to keep my laws, my statutes, and my commands, I'm going to keep them. There's a promise that comes with keeping Yahuah's commands, y'all. And I would not have known that had I not actually started keeping it for myself. Because I was one of the ones, oh, you're doing too much. We ain't got to do that. We just need to believe and all this stuff, till I realized that wasn't quite working for me all the time, right? And I can tell you, because quite a few people ask me, even begin to ask my sister, she come to me, people ask, okay, so what's different? What's happening different now? I'll tell you what's happening different from me. My prayers are answered a whole lot faster. My dreams come like rapid fire. And I've always had the gift of dreams, right? But the voice of Yah is so much more clear. And it's like, I've always been one who would just go to him when I get in trouble or things weren't working out. I was always wanting to go to him anyway and pray and just talk to him throughout the day. But since I've actually started keeping the commands, like what I know to keep, I keep, I hear his voice so much clearer. Like seriously, I can pinpoint my prayers for stuff. So that's what has changed for me, So that's what I shared. What I said, that's what's changed. I'm not sure about anybody else. And another thing that's changed is as I began to keep the commands, as like the commands like the Sabbath and the feast days and stuff, it seemed like there was another level of wisdom that was given when I began keeping the commands, right? Even with understanding the times and the seasons and stuff, right? It blows my mind. I'm like, Father, this is nobody but you. But had I not been keeping the commands or keeping or trying my best to keep it, my eyes would not have been in that direction. I would not have even known to look in a certain direction, so that's what's different from me. So I'm at this point, like now, like, yep, I ain't going back to what I was doing because that didn't work too hot for us. I was like, now I don't want to die before my time. I'm going to keep the commands like YAH has said. He said, because these will be forever in this world and in the world to come. He said, matter of fact, he said, this is how my people are marked. When you keep my commands, you have my seal. You know how people talk about the mark of the beast? Well, keeping Yahuwah's commands puts the mark of YAH upon you. So, all right, that's my little soapbox for today. Yes, as the mind were contrary when I was being chastised more faster than my siblings. So I started to seek him holy the best I can. Amen. Okay, y'all. So let's go ahead and start this reading because I really want to get into the legends of the Jews and read a portion. Like I really want to fast forward to a different part, but we're going to get to it. Y'all got to see how the whole Exodus, how it all, every bit and piece of it that was left out, how when you start reading some of this, it fills in those gaps and it just makes so much more sense. And it's like, hallelujah. It's like you get a whole nother revelation of what happened. And then you can actually look at what's going on with us now in captivity, no matter where we're scattered, whether we're in Americas, in the UK, in South America, China, wherever we're scattered, it begins to make a lot more sense. So, okay. Exodus chapter 19. Exactly 2 months after the Israelites left Egypt, they arrived in the wilderness of Sinai. After breaking camp at Rephidim, they came to the wilderness of Sinai and set up camp there at the base of Mount Sinai. Then Moses climbed the mountain to appear before Yahuwah. Yahuwah called to him from the mountain and said, give these instructions to the family of Jacob.
I love you.
Love you too, babe.
I'll call you in a minute.
Okay. Then the Lord called from him from the mountain and said, give these instructions to the family of Jacob. Announce it to the descendants of Israel. You have seen what I did to the Egyptians. You know how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now, if you will obey me and keep my covenant, you will be my own special treasure from among all the peoples on the earth. For all the earth belongs to me, and you will be my kingdom of priests, my holy nation. This is the message you must give to the people of Israel.
Where's the ring in the front?
They're right there. They're still charging. Both of them. I'll put them up when I'm done.
Gotcha.
Unless you want to do it now. But I get it.
No, you got it.
Okay. I bet. Then Moses returned from the mountain and called together the elders of the people and told them everything Yahuwah had commanded him. And all the people responded together, we will do everything that Yahuwah has commanded. So Moses brought the people's answer back to Yahuwah. Then Yahuwah said to Moses, I will come to you in a thick cloud, Moses, so the people themselves can hear me when I speak with you, and then they will then they will always trust you. Remember how we read this portion about when they heard Yahuwah speak, they was like, we want to hear him speak ourselves, Moses. So this some of the part that was being left out of Exodus or whatever, but we'll get details in a couple of days of this. And you guys already read it, but it's going to make a lot more sense. Then Yahuwah said to Moses, I will come to you in a thick cloud, Moses, so the people themselves can hear me when I speak with you. Then they will always trust you. Moses told Yahuwah what the people had said. Then Yahuwah told Moses, go down and prepare the people for my arrival. Consecrate them today and tomorrow and have them wash their clothing. Be sure they are ready on the third day, for on that day, Yahuwah will come down on Mount Sinai as all the people watch. Mark off the boundaries all around the mountain. Warn the people, be careful. Do not go up on a mountain or even touch its barriers. Anyone who touches the mountain will surely be put to death. No hand may touch the person or animal that crosses the boundary. Instead, stone them or shoot them with arrows. They must be put to death. However, When the ram's horn sounds a long blast, then the people may go up on the mountain. So Moses went down to the people. He consecrated them for worship, and they washed their clothes. He told them, get ready for the third day, and until then, abstain from having sexual intercourse. Shalom, shalom, Mom. On the mountain of the on the morning of the third day, thunder roared and lightning flashed, and a dense cloud came on the mountain. There was a long, loud blast from the ram's horn, and all the people trembled. Moses led them out from the camp to meet with Yahuah. They stood at the foot of the mountain. All of Mount Sinai was covered with smoke because Yahuah had descended on it in the form of fire. The smoke billowed into the sky like smoke from a brick kiln, and the whole mountain shook violently. As the blast from the ram's horn grew louder and louder, Moses spoke, and Yahuah thundered his reply. Yahuah came down on the top of the mountain and called Moses to the top of the mountain. So Moses climbed the mountain. Then Yahuah told Moses, go back down and warn the people not to break through the boundaries to see Yahuah, or they would die. Even the priests who regularly come near to Yahuah must purify themselves so that Yahuah does not break out and destroy them. But Yahuah, Moses protested, the people cannot come up to Mount Sinai. You already warned us. You told me mark off a boundary all around the mountain and set it apart as holy. But Yahuah said, go down and bring back Aaron up with you. In the meantime, do not let the priests or the people break through to approach Yahuah, or he will break out and destroy them. So Moses went down to the people and told them what Yahuah had said. Yahuah had to reiterate it, because think about it, it's like we get kind of nosy, like, oh, what's going on? I want to see, So he said, go down there and remind them. He said, but yeah, I already told him. He said, go tell them again. Exodus chapter 20. And so here's where the instructions for us began. Then Yahuah gave the people all these instructions. I am Yahuah, your God. Oh, and between all this, there's a whole bunch that's missing, y'all. So we're going to get to it. I just wanted to let you know. So you will see how all of this, it lays together like a puzzle when you have some of the missing pieces, right? Like a perfect puzzle. Then Yahuah gave the people all these instructions. I am Yahuah, your God, who rescued you from the land of Egypt, the place of your slavery. You must not have any other God but me. I'm going to repeat that. You must not have any other God but me. You must not make for yourself an idol of any kind or an image of anything in the heavens or on the earth or in the sea. How many of our people have kept that? They wearing all kinds of idols around their necks and their car hanging from the thing they putting idols and stuff on their clothing. They breaking this command left and right. He said, don't make an image of anything. And they're worshiping these things, right? They may not, well, some of them are, they may not be bowing down to the chain on their necks or on the emblems on their clothes and stuff, but it's still a form of worship. Like, I like this. This is, see my chain, I worship. You must not make for yourself an idol of any kind or an image of anything in the heavens or on the earth or in the sea. You must not bow down to them or worship them, for I, Yahuah, your God, am a jealous God who will not tolerate your affection for any other gods. I lay the sins of the parents upon their children. The entire family is affected, even children in the third and fourth generations of those who reject me. But I lavish unfailing love for 1,000 generations on those who love and obey my commands. You must not misuse the name of Yahuah, your God. Yahuah will not let you go unpunished if you misuse his name. Remember to observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. You have 6 days each week for your ordinary work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath day of rest dedicated to Yahuah, your God. On that day, no one in your household may do any work. This includes you, your sons, your daughters, your male and female servants, your livestock, and any foreigners living among you. For in 6 days, Yahuah made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and everything in them. But on the seventh day, he rested. That is why Yahuah blessed the Sabbath day and set it apart as holy. Let me interject something here. Not interject, but let me explain something. Trina said, I decided to fast on my rest day. For the first time, I did not get a headache. I had to work, though I was still peace. It was still a peaceful day at work. Amen. Bless y'all. Okay, so right here on the Sabbath day, and this is it special. Okay, now remember when we were in our own land, right? These commands were easier to keep. Not that they were easier to keep, but the whole of us would be keeping them. So if it's the Sabbath day, everybody in our land is resting. Nobody is working. It while we're here in the land of our captivity, it's a little hard, especially being in slavery, and some places may not give you a day off, but it's gotten easier over the years for us. And now you can kind of make your schedules and stuff, or you have your own business, what have you. But the thing is, you live in a place where they do not honor Yahuwah's commands. They'll tell you, oh, rest on this day or that day, or you can work 7 days a week, get more money, whatever. There's constantly things bombarding you to keep your affections in another place instead of towards YAH, right? So we have jobs and stuff that they'll switch up the days, and they'll tell you can take this day off, or you can't take this day off, or you lose your job. And then we're forced to make a decision. Either we compromise with Yahuwah's commands, or we're going to believe YAH and believe that he's going to keep us. He said, I keep those who keep my commands. And a lot of time, especially as we're waking up, what we have found out, for those who work for other people, and Trina's a perfect example of what she just said. That's why I pause right here. If you're already, when you come into the understand that we're supposed to be keeping Yahuwah's commands, but you're already working for somebody, if you don't have the ability to start your own or get another job where you can make sure you have the Sabbaths off, and now so that we realize that the Sabbath seems to rotate, they don't rotate because they are fixed, but because we're on this Gregorian calendar. It's changed over the years from Julian, Caesar, Gregorian. We're in a Gregorian calendar now. You got to look at it. And if you're keeping Yahuwah's Sabbath days, you will realize, first of all, that they're fixed and set from the beginning of time. And there's a way that we can look and see that what they were at. But according to the Gregorian calendar, it would seem to rotate, just like we mentioned this before, just like your birthdays and all the other holidays, they never fall on the same day, because the Gregorian calendar is a 365-day calendar. Yahuwah said his calendar is a 364-day calendar, 52 weeks, perfectly exact, right? So on a Gregorian calendar, so if my birthday is on a Wednesday, next year I'm almost guaranteed it's going to be on a Thursday or Friday. It always rotates throughout the week, just like other holidays and stuff. Even if it may be fixed on a certain day, like Martin Luther King is January the 15th, right? It's always on January the 15th, but it always doesn't land on a Monday. It always rotates throughout the week. Now think about Thanksgiving. The actual dates change for Thanksgiving, but it's always on that, like the holiday is always that Thursday and it's Friday. So it's set it fixed on the third week in November, but the date will always change. Sometime Thanksgiving will be on the 24th and the 25th. Sometime it'll be on the 27th and the 28th. Think about Christmas. Christmas is one that the date doesn't change, but the day of the week always rotates. Think about it. So you can't have Yahuwah's Sabbath. If we're looking at it and keeping it according to the Gregorian calendar, it cannot be every Friday, or some people say every Saturday. Some keep it Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. It cannot be the same if we're following it on the Gregorian calendar. If we're following it on the Gregorian calendar, it must rotate in order to keep with the time, with the sky and the clock, right? And that's something that I realized about 2 years ago now. And so as I started tracking, and I showed y'all a couple of times, as I started tracking and actually writing it down and using a calendar, I actually, as I went back and looked over the previous months, I began to notice a pattern that the Sabbaths will always fall on a quarter of the moon. And I had to go back and check. I went through previous years and it blew my mind. I said, so the moon quarters are true Sabbath days, right? And so that's how Yahuwah began to teach me stuff, right? And even with the transition days of the moon, how sometime when we're transitioning into a new month, it's you may have one dark day where the moon is completely blacked out, she's completely new, and then that next day she'll begin taking in portions of light from the sun. Or some days on a longer months where she'll have 2 complete dark days where she can't be seen, and then on that third day she'll begin taking in light into her disk, right? I understood, and he said, and by this, he said, and this right here, the transition days, he said, this is where men are begun to, as they begin calculating time, this is where they're going to err, or they're going to come into error, because they're not going to understand these transition days. But the moon brings in the year exactly 364 days, just like the sun, but all her days are not counted like the sun days. And you know how Yahuah began to teach me, help me understand about that, to get the proper understanding of the transition days, by me working out and me tracking my workout schedule and me putting the rest days up there. So I was like, if you go to my Facebook page, you'll begin to notice now more data that I add to my workout days. I got, okay, so I've been exercising for 25 days. My accumulated rest days today is actually now is 4 accumulated rest days. The weeks I've been exercising is 4 weeks, but it's been a total of 25. It's been 25 workout days, 4 rest days. And the total amount that I've been doing my whole workout routine is 29 days. But as you go, you'll begin to see that the rest days, as the rest days increase, my workout days will also increase. But it's like the moon. My workout days will be like, the days that I actually work out would be in comparison to the moon, or the days where she actually has light. My rest days, where I take a rest on the Sabbath, will be compared to the transition, the dark days. So say if I work out for a whole year, 364 days out of the year, I won't have worked out for 364 days. It'll be more like 300 and maybe 42. I'm just giving a number for an example. But my rest days will bring in the year to the perfect count of 364. So every week I fall behind a day. Every week I fall behind a day because I rest. But it's going to bring in the year perfectly. So there I'm present. And the moon is present even on the day she's dark, but she just doesn't have light in her disc, right? She's present, but her days are not counted as days of giving light, like the sun is counted 364 days according to Yahuah. If you're looking at your Gregorian calendar, 365 days. Don't argue with me over the days, y'all. Just look in the book. So, but y'all, I hope y'all get what I'm saying. So that's how I began to understand it. I'm like, Father, you blow my mind every day. But had I not started keeping the Sabbath, had I not started even tracking my workout days, I would be none the wiser, and I still would not understand, and I would still be trying to figure out how this lines up, right? So Yahuah is amazing in how he explains scripture to you and how he gives you understanding on how it works, right? So that's how I began to understand that. So Tiffany said you were going to say something about not being able to keep the Sabbath. Yes. So for those who, as you're beginning to keep Yahuah's feast day, say you're working on a job and you're required here. Okay, I'll use my sister, for example. She's an RN, right? She can make her schedule, but she has to make it a month in advance. So before, when she was, and it's kind of different because she can still actually make her schedule. So, but when we started keeping it, her schedule was already put out for that month, and she was actually working. As we realized they was rotating, she was like, man, I'm working those days. Now she couldn't get somebody to switch with her. She had to show up, right? And I believe this is as we're learning, Yahuah moves with us in grace and stuff, and he gives us mercy because our heart is to do what's right, and we're really making strides to keep his commands, And so he know her heart that given an opportunity, she's going to keep it, So she's giving grace. So a lot of times, I think like 3 of those Sabbaths, she got somebody to switch with her, and 1 she had to work. But on that 1, she even prayed that, Father, I tried to get somebody to take this. I didn't know at the time when I made my schedule. So I need your grace. I got to work this day. But you know what happened? And her floor is normally extremely busy, patients in and out all day long, some kind of emergency going on. She works in a hospital. She's the charge nurse, right? Hold on, Pooh. So, but that day, she had a really, really peaceful, yes, baby girl.
On the phone.
Okay, I'm using my phone right now. Give me 1 second. I'll be done in a few minutes. So, but she had a very peaceful day. So when you still have to work on those Sabbath days, Yahuah, and test it, y'all. Don't just listen to what I say. That's why I say y'all gotta go test this if you don't believe it, because I wasn't a believer till I started tracking stuff and testing it myself. Because I got into the habit. I'm sick of people telling us lies. I don't know what to believe. I said, so Father, you're going to have to help me. And I was sincere when I said that. So I was like, okay, if it says I'm going to try this, Father, help me. Make sure I don't get off. But my heart is to do what's right and to follow you. But I need to know what's truth, what's error. Help me to separate the tares from the wheat, or separate the meat from the bones. And that's what he's been doing day by day. As I do my part, and doing and being honest and wholeheartedly want to serve him, okay, he leads me to different information. Go check out this. Go out here. Go outside right now so you can see this. I'm like, and it blows my mind, y'all. So that's why I say, yep, not going back to the other way that I used to be doing things, because that didn't work too well for me. It's like Yahuah is fine-tuning me now, and it's like I can see things that I couldn't see before and that I didn't understand. It's like, duh, how could I not have seen that, right? So that's what I was about to say, Tiffany. So even those that may have to work on Sabbath that can't get it changed because your schedule is set because of your job, you will find that on those days there's an extra special blessing of peace that you get for that day somehow. But Yahuah makes it happen where you're still pretty much resting while you're on company time for whatever it is. It'll be a good day. And I've heard multiple people come back and tell me that I can't get it off. I said, just pray and just believe YAH. He gonna do it for you. However he works it out, he's gonna work it out for you. But come back and tell me, because I'm keeping track of people testimonies of what YAH is doing for them. I was like, tell somebody, share. When people ask you, you ain't got to go hunt people down. Oh, return, keep you ain't got to do all that. You just begin to keep them yourself. And as things begin to happen, people are going to start asking you, what is you doing? I just simply started keeping y'all's commands, then they'll start asking you questions, so you ain't got to be ignorant about it, for real. You really don't. Okay, let's go back, y'all, because we might not get to read a lot from the Legends of the Jews. Okay, so we stopped at the Sabbath. So I'm gonna read that again. I'm gonna keep going. Remember to observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. You have 6 days each week for your ordinary work, but the 7th day is a Sabbath day of rest dedicated to Yahuah, your God. On that day, no one in your household may do any work. This includes you, your sons, your daughters, your male and female servants, your livestock, and any foreigners among you. Excuse me. And if you own your own business, even on those days, if you're the one totally in charge of everybody's schedule, and if you're keeping to it on these days, you would make sure that your company is resting as well. Like, there is a company that we work with, that we contract for, that I realized, I was like, wait a minute. And they will put out an email, our company is closed this day. And after a couple months of doing this, I said, babe, I guarantee you they're keeping y'all's commands. I said, because their company days are falling on these same days that we're resting, right? And sure enough, I asked one of the guys, I said, Marvin, I got a question. I said, do you guys, I noticed you're closed on these days. He said, oh yeah, we keep the feast days. I'm like, yes. I said, Father, bless this company. All they do, bring them more work because they're keeping your commands. Like, I get super excited when I can see the patterns in people's lives and in their companies. And I know that company is blessed because they're keeping to Yahuah's commands. Like, when you begin doing it, you can begin seeing it. You can begin, even though people are not saying anything, you can begin to clearly see it happening in other companies. You'll begin to notice the patterns. And guys, I'm telling you, it blows my mind every single time, right? Okay. For in 6 days, Yahuah made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and everything in them. But on the 7th day, he rested. That is why Yahuah blessed the Sabbath day and set it apart as holy. Honor your father and your mother. Then you will live a long, full life in the land Yahuah, your God, is giving you. You must not murder. You must not commit adultery. You must not steal. You must not testify falsely against your neighbor. You must not covet your neighbor's house. You must not covet your neighbor's wife, male or female servant, ox or donkey, or anything else that belongs to your neighbor. And today would be cars, house, all that stuff, right? When the people heard the thunder and the loud blast of the ram's horn, and when they saw the flashes of lightning and the smoke billowing from the mountain, they stood at a distance, trembling with fear. And they said to Moses, "You speak to us and we will listen, but don't let Yahuah speak directly to us or we will die." And this is funny when they fill in the other piece on some of the other little things that happened right at this time, y'all. I was laughing. I was like, oh, okay. As the people stood in the distance, Moses approached the dark cloud where Yahuah was. And Yahuah said to Moses, "Say this to the people of Israel. You saw for yourselves that I spoke to you from heaven. Remember, you must not make any idols of gold or silver to rival me. Build for me an altar made of earth and offer your sacrifices to me, your burnt offerings and peace offerings, your sheep and goats and your cattle. Build my altar wherever I cause my name to be remembered, and I will come to you and bless you. If you use stones to build my altar, use only natural, uncut stones. Do not shape the stones with a tool, for that will make the altar unfit for holy use." And how many pastors standing in a pulpit that is unfit for holy use? All of them. "And do not approach my altar by going up steps." How many pulpits got steps leading up to the altar? All of them. I'm telling you, everything. When you read Yahuah's commands, you will see when you go into a church house, you are sitting in the middle of an abomination. They're doing everything that Yahuah has told us not to do. But I digress. "And do not approach my altar by going up steps. If you do, someone might look up under your clothing and see your nakedness." We're not gonna get into all them shenanigans, but we know they're happening too. All right, y'all, last chapter from Exodus today, Exodus chapter 21. "These are the regulations you must present to Israel. If you buy a Hebrew slave, he may serve no more than 6 years. Set him free in the 7th year, and he will owe you nothing for his freedom. If he was single when he became your slave, he shall leave single. But if he was married before he became a slave, then his wife must be freed with him. If his master gave him a wife while he was a slave and they had sons or daughters, then only the man will be free in the 7th year, but his wife and his children will still belong to his master. But the slave may declare, 'I love my master and my wife and my children. I do not want to go free.' If he does this, his master must present him before Yahuah. Then his master must take him to the door or doorpost and publicly pierce his ear with an awl. After that, the slave will serve his master for life." They got the ears pierced, right? I love my master. I don't want to go. But when they was talking about this, is like indentured servants, or people who hired themselves out, right? This captivity that we went into, we didn't hire ourselves out. Yahuah sent us into slavery. So when we read it, a lot of times we read it with a bias, like we have the wrong understanding of what it was talking about here. And I think this is a poor translation. It probably really should say like indentured servant. It really should. "When a man sells his daughter as a slave, she will not be freed at the end of 6 years as the men are. If she does not satisfy her owner, he must allow her to be bought back again. But he is not allowed to sell her to foreigners, since he is the one who broke the contract with her. If the slave's owner arranges for her to marry his son, he may no longer treat her like a slave, but as a daughter. If a man who has married a slave takes another wife for himself, he must not neglect the rights of the first wife to food, clothing, and sexual intimacy. If he fails in any of these 3 obligations, she may leave as a free woman without making any payment." Now, here is something that a lot of people tend to overlook, right? When a man takes another wife for himself. Now, we also know that Yahuah tells us that kings are not to multiply women to themselves nor riches. And a lot of times when people are waking up to the truth, especially some of our brothers, because they love them some women, they're coming in, "Oh, I got this woman, I got these wives and stuff." But a lot of them are not. If you take, here's what it says, that if you take another wife to yourself, now Yahuah said, don't do it. He said, don't do it. But if it does happen, because remember, we're scattered to different places, they have different cultures and stuff, and men are multiplying women to themselves, right? He said, if you do this, he said, you must, okay, say you got one wife. We'll do an example. Say you got one wife, and this wife, let's just say she's real high energy. This wife requires that you have sex with her 5 days a week. Not that she required, but that's what she used to, 5 days a week. And I don't know, maybe y'all got businesses or work or whatever, but I don't know, 5 days a week. And just for the sake of conversation, you're giving her $2,000 a month, for the sake of conversation, for the example, right? If you decide to take in another wife and she requires the same thing, she could require more, she could require less, but Yahuah said you are not to lessen the rights of the first wife. He must not neglect the rights of the first wife to food, clothing, and sexual intimacy. So if your first wife, sis, needs you 5 days a week, and you bring on another wife, sis also needs you 5 days a week. Hold on now, bro, you're gonna need to make a schedule now. First of all, is you're gonna have the energy to do this. You may be young and may be able to keep up with them while you're young, but what if when you get old? Because women, their sexual drives tends to increase as you get older. These women is gonna kill you, bro. You ain't got the energy for all that. And let's just think about, you got two high energy wives. And you decide you want to take, you doing all this in your youth. You take, oh, I need another wife, and you take on another. What if she is just as high energy, bro? You ain't gonna make it past 30, 40, maybe 50 years old. They're gonna kill you. All your life force is gonna be sucked out of you if you keep into Yahuah's commands and you're not neglecting. And how much money do these wives require? Let's not talk about the children that's going to be made from these unions, the sexual intimacy. You get what I'm saying? So, but having that understanding and what our people are doing now, they ain't keeping up none of these. Like they just willy-nilly got wives. A lot of them not even taking care of them. Even if they call them wives. Some, now I looked at some of them, some do. I don't agree with it. You will say one. One man, one woman, or whatever. He said kings are not to multiply women, because you're going to multiply troubles unto yourself. And especially if they're not daughters of Zion, now they're going to cause your heart to be led astray, just like King Solomon. They didn't put everything in there of what King Solomon had did, right? And all these women that he took and multiplied unto himself, right? We read in Ecclesiastes about some of these things that by the time King Solomon got to the end of his life, he said, listen, the best thing for us to do is to keep Yah's commands and live a quiet and peaceable life. Because the story of my life, and we read about a lot of the stuff that King Solomon did. It gives you a lot of the shenanigans that his different wives took him through, and what happened when he began to offer sacrifices to these other gods that his wives were worshiping because he wanted to please his women. Right. And when he did that, the first time he set up an altar to that first wife, all that wisdom and everything King Solomon had, it said Yahuah immediately removed it from him. So now you got this king who was moving in the wisdom of Yah, and you have amassed all these great riches and treasures unto yourself. But the first time you do that same thing to go worship another god, all that wisdom that kept you in your place has been taken from you. And King Solomon lived like a fool and a beggar for quite some time. But that's the part they didn't add in here. A lot of our men and women are taking half stories and getting out here doing stuff and getting themselves in places that they're going to find themselves away from the Most High, because we don't have the full story and understanding of what was happening here. Guys, it'll blow your mind. People are lusting after their fleshly desires, not according to the book. You're right, Aliyah. You're absolutely right. Okay. If a man who has married a slave wife takes another wife for himself, he must not neglect the rights of the first wife to food, clothing, and sexual intimacy. If he fails in any of these three obligations, she may leave as a free woman without making any payment. Anyone who assaults and kills another person must be put to death. But if it was simply an accident permitted by Yahuah, I will appoint a place of refuge where the slayer can run for safety. However, if someone deliberately kills another person, then the slayer must be dragged even from my altar and put to death. Anyone who strikes father or mother must be put to death. Kidnappers must be put to death, whether they are caught in possession of their victims or have already sold them. Like a lot of this stuff, like a lot of these shenanigans would stop across the world if even this thing right here, if kidnappers were put to death. I don't believe, I do believe in the death penalty. I really do. Anyone who dishonors father or mother must be put to death. Now, suppose two men quarrel, one hits another with a stone or fist, and the injured person does not die, but is confined to bed. If he is later able to walk outside again, even with a crutch, the assailant will not be punished, but must compensate his victim for lost wages and provide for his full recovery. And even here in America, some of the laws and stuff, if you get familiar with Yahuah's laws, you will see that a lot of them come directly from here. They don't give him the credit, but a lot of them come from here, right? If a man beats his male or female slave with a club and the slave dies as a result, the owner must be punished. But if the slave recovers within a day or two, then the owner shall not be punished, since the slave is his property. Now suppose two men are fighting, and in the process they accidentally strike a pregnant woman, so she gives birth prematurely. If no further injury results, the man who struck the woman must pay the amount of compensation to the woman's husband. The man who struck the woman must pay the amount of compensation the woman's husband demands and the judges approve. But if there is further injury, the punishment must match the injury: a life for a life, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a hand for a hand, a foot for a foot, a burn for a burn, a wound for a wound, a bruise for a bruise. If a man hits his male or female slave in the eye and the eye is blinded, he must let the slave go free to compensate for the eye. If a man knocks out the tooth of his male or female slave, he must let the slave go free to compensate for the tooth. If the ox gores a man or woman to death, the ox must be stoned, and its flesh may not be eaten. In such a case, however, the owner will not be held liable. But suppose the ox had a reputation for goring, and the owner had been informed but failed to keep it under control. If the ox kills someone, it must be stoned, and the owner must also be put to death. Think about that, because you knew you had vagabond animals running here in the land, killing people. You ain't do nothing about it. We're gonna kill your animals, and you up next, bro. We killing you too. That's that. I ain't say that. That's what y'all just said. I'm just reading it. If an ox gores a man or woman to death, the ox must be stoned, and its flesh may not be eaten. In such a case, however, the owner will not be held liable. But suppose the ox had a reputation for goring, and the owner had been informed but failed to keep it under control. If the ox then kills someone, it must be stoned, and the owner also must be put to death. However, the dead person's relatives may accept payment to compensate for the loss of life. The owner of the ox may redeem his life by paying whatever is demanded. And we see that also in the law, right? People die and they settle out of court for somebody's death, and they're given a portion of money. That's this law happening. The same regulation applies if the ox gores a boy or a girl. But if the ox gores a slave, either male or female, the animal's owner must pay the slave owners 30 silver coins, and the ox must be stoned. Suppose someone digs or uncovers a pit and fails to cover it, and then an ox or a donkey falls into it. The owner of the pit must pay full compensation to the owner of the animal, but then he gets to keep the dead animal. If someone's ox injures a neighbor's ox and the injured ox dies, then the two owners must sell the ox. Then the two owners must sell the live ox and divide the price equally between them. They must also divide the dead animal. But if the ox had a reputation for goring, yet its owner failed to keep it under control, he must pay full compensation: a live ox for the dead one, but he may keep the dead ox. Okay. I'm telling you, right? Out of y'all. Okay, y'all. So let's go ahead and jump over here to the Legends of the Jews. Okay, that was Exodus 19, 20, and 21. And baby girl, oh, well, she knocked down. She picked it up. She's so sweet. She knocked my book down and she picked it up. Okay, y'all. So let's get over here. Some of these chapters are a little long, so we may not get to read as much from the Legends of the Jews as we do on some days. Okay. So if you have the book, we're on page 221. If you got the smaller book where the page numbers are different, it's volume 2. And the subtitle is The Faithful Shepherd. Yes, it's The Faithful Shepherd. And we're talking about Moses. Okay. When Jethro bestowed his daughter Zipporah upon Moses as his wife, he said to his future son-in-law, I know that thy father Jacob took his wives, the daughter of Laban, and went away with them against their father's will. Now take an oath that thou wilt not do the same unto me. And Moses swore not to leave him without his consent, and he remained with Jethro, who made him the shepherd of his flocks. By the way he tended the sheep, Yahuah saw his fitness to be the shepherd of his people. For Yahuah never gives an exalted office to a man until he has tested him in the little things. Thus, Moses and David were tried as shepherds of flocks, and only after they had proved their ability as such, he gave them dominion over men. Moses watched over the flocks with loving care. He led the young animals to pasture first, that they might have the tender, juicy grass for their food. The somewhat older animals he led forth next and allowed them to graze off herbs suitable for them. And finally came the vigorous ones that had attained their full growth, and to them he gave the hard grass that was left, which the others could not eat, but which afforded good food for them. Then Yahuah spake, He that understandeth how to pasture sheep, providing for each what is good for it, he shall pasture my people. Once a kid escaped from a flock, and when Moses followed it, he saw how it stopped at all the watercourses, and he said to it, Poor kid, I knew not that thou wast thirsty and was running after water. Thou art weary, I ween. And he carried it back to the herd on his shoulder. Then Yahuah said, Thou hast compassion with a flock belonging to a man of flesh and blood. As thou livest, thou shalt pasture Israel, my flock. Not only did Moses take heed that no harm should come to the herds under his charge, but he was also careful that they cause no injury to men. He always chose an open meadow as his pasturing place to prevent his sheep from grazing in private estates. Jethro had no reason to be dissatisfied with the service rendered to him by his son-in-law. During the 40 years Moses acted as his shepherd, not one sheep was attacked by wild beasts, and the herds multiplied with an incredible degree. Once he drove the sheep about in the desert for 40 days, without finding a pasturing place for them. Nevertheless, he did not lose a single sheep. Moses' longing for the desert was irresistible. His prophetic spirit caused him to foresee that his own greatness and the greatness of Israel would manifest themselves there. In the desert, Yahuwah's wonders would appear, though it would be the same time the grave of the human herd to be entrusted to him in the future, and also his last resting place. Thus he had the presentiment at the very beginning of his career that the desert would be the scene of his activity, which not only came true in the present order of things, but also will be true in the latter days, where he will appear again in the desert to lead into the promised land the generation arisen from their graves that he brought forth from the Egyptian bondage. Wandering through the desert, he reached Mount Hor, which is called by 6 names, each conveying one of its distinctions. It is the mountain of Yahuah, wherein Yahuah revealed his law. Bashban, for Yahuah came there. A mountain of humps, for Yahuah declared all other mountains unfit for the revelation. As crookback, animals are declared unfit for sacrifices. The mountain of abode, because it is the mountain that Yahuah desired for his abode. Sinai, because the hatred of Yahuah against the heathen began at the time when Israel received the law thereon. And then just read it today, right, guys? I tell you, I don't be lining this stuff up like this. We just read where they getting the law from Yahuah at Mount Sinai, right? I tell you, it's been blowing my mind how what we do, it just lines up, right? It blew my mind. Okay. Sinai, because the hatred of Yahuah against the heathen began at the time when Israel received the law thereon, and Horeb, sword, because there the sword of the law was drawn upon sinners. The next section, the burning thorn bush. When Moses drew near to Mount Horeb, he was aware at once that it was a holy place, for he noticed that passing birds did not alight upon it. At his approach, the mountain began to move as though to go forward and meet him, and it settled back into quietude only when his foot rested upon it. The first thing Moses noticed was the wonderful burning bush, the upper part of which was a blazing flame, neither consuming the bush nor preventing it from bearing blossoms as it burnt. For the celestial fire has 3 peculiar qualities. It produces blossoms, It does not consume the object around which it plays, and it is black of color. The fire that Moses saw in the bush was the appearance of the angel Michael, who descended as the forerunner of the Shekinah herself to come down presently. It was the wish of Yahuah to hold converse with Moses, who, however, was not inclined to permit any interruption of the work under his charge. Meaning, Yahuah said, I know Moses is so faithful, he's not going to deter from his duties to his father-in-law Jethro. So I need to make some kind of commotion to get his attention. Otherwise, he's going to keep leading his sheep in passion and doing his job faithfully. So Yah had to cause something to happen to break Moses' state to get his attention so he could talk to Moses. I'll read that again. The fire that Moses saw in the bush was the appearance of the angel Michael, who had descended as the forerunner of the Shekinah herself to come down presently. It was the wish of Yahuah to hold converse with Moses, who, however, was not inclined to permit any interruption of the work under his charge. Therefore, Yahuah startled him with the wonderful phenomenon of the burning thorn bush. That brought Moses to a stop, and then Yahuah spake with him. There was a good reason for selecting the thorn bush. Think about this, y'all. And I want y'all to think about the thorns in general and how it's used throughout the Bible, right? There's a couple places. Listen, there was a good reason for selecting the thorn bush as the vessel for a divine vision. It was clean, for the heathen could not use it to make idols. Yahuah's choosing to dwell in the stunted thorn bush conveyed the knowledge to Moses that he suffers along with Israel. Furthermore, Moses was taught that there is nothing in nature, not even the insignificant thorn bush, that can exist without the presence of the Shekinah. Besides, the thorn bush may be taken as the symbol for Israel in several respects. Excuse me. As the thorn bush is the lowliest of all species of trees, so the condition of Israel in exile is the lowliest as compared with that of all the other nations. But as the thorn bush releases, no bird, excuse me, I need some water. My water. I'm sorry, y'all. Hold on. But as the thorn bush releases, no bird lights upon it without lacerating its wings. So the nations that subjugate Israel will be punished. Also, as a garden hedge is made of the thorn bush, so Israel forms the hedge of the world, the garden of Yahuah. For without Israel, the world could not endure. Furthermore, as the thorn bush bears thorns and roses alike, so Israel has pious and impious members. And as the thorn bush requires ample water for its growth, so Israel can only prosper through the Torah, the celestial water, which is why it is pertinent that we go back to it and we keep it. We cannot survive without it, y'all. We cannot survive without it. And the thorn bush, the leaf of which consists of 5 leaflets, was to indicate to Moses that Yahuah had resolved to redeem Israel only for the sake of the merits of 5 pious men: Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Aaron, and Moses. The numbers represented by the letters composing the Hebrew word for thorn bush, Sinah, add up to 120 to convey that Moses would reach the age of 120 years and that the Shekinah would rest on Mount Horeb for 120 days. Finally, in order to give Moses an illustration of his modesty, Yahuah descended from the exalted heavens and spake to him from a lowly thorn bush instead of the summit of a lofty mountain or the top of a stately cedar. What time we at? Okay, y'all, we're gonna read this next little section and then we'll pause it and we'll pick it back tomorrow. The next section is called the Ascension of Moses. The vision of the burning bush appeared to Moses alone. The other shepherds with him saw nothing of it. He took 5 steps in the direction of the bush to view it at a closer range. And when Yahuah beheld the countenance of Moses distorted by grief and anxiety over Israel's suffering, he spake, This one is worthy of the office of pasturing my people. Moses was still a novice in prophecy. Therefore, Yahuah said to himself, if I reveal myself to him in loud tones, I shall alarm him. But if I reveal myself with a subdued voice, he will hold prophecy in low esteem. Whereupon he addressed him in his father's Amram, in his father Amram's voice. Moses was overjoyed to hear his father speak, for it gave him the assurance that he was still alive. The voice called his name twice, and he answered, Here I am. What is my father's wish? You replying, saying, I am not thy father, but I desired to refrain from terrifying thee. Therefore I spoke with thy father's voice. I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. These words rejoiced Moses greatly, for not only was his father Amram's name pronounced with the same breath of the three patriarchs, but it came before theirs as though he ranked higher than they. Moses said not a word. In silent reverence before the divine vision, he covered his face. And when Yahuah disclosed the mission with which he charged him of bringing the Israelites forth from the land of Egypt, he answered with humility, Who am I that I should go unto Pharaoh and bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt? Thereupon spake Yahuah, Moses, Thou art meek, and I will reward thee for thy modesty. I will deliver the whole land of Egypt into thy hand, and besides, I will let thee ascend until the throne of my glory, and look upon all the angels of heaven. Hereupon Yahuah commanded Metatron, the angel of the face. And who do we just learn that Metatron was, y'all? Somebody type it in. Somebody please type it in. Tell me y'all was paying attention. Who is the angel Metatron? I'm gonna wait for somebody. Facebook or YouTube. Somebody please type it in. Who is the angel Metatron? I give y'all 5 seconds. Aliyah, what did you just say? Hanukkah. No, guys. Okay, maybe I pronounced that wrong. Thank you. Okay. It was a typo. Enoch. Thank you, Aliyah. Thank you, Shayla. Enoch. Metatron is Enoch. It tells you that we just finished reading Enoch before we came to Exodus. The angel Metatron, Enoch, when Yahuah had taken him, after all he did, he was transformed and he was placed over all the angels. So Enoch is ruling over the angels of heaven. Now he is the head angel. His name is now Metatron. Okay. Just make sure y'all tracking with me, right? Okay. Listen. Thereupon spake Yahuah, Moses, thou art meek, and I will reward thee for thy modesty. I will deliver the whole land of Egypt into thy hand, and besides, I will let thee ascend to the throne of my glory, and look upon all the angels of heaven. Hereupon Yahuah commanded Metatron, or Enoch, who is also called the angel of the face, to conduct Moses to the celestial regions amid the sound of music and song. And he commanded him furthermore to summon 30,000 angels to serve as his bodyguard, 15,000 to the right of him and 15,000 to the left of him. In abject terror, Moses asked Metatron, Who art thou? And the angel replied, I am Enoch, the son of Jared. I told y'all, we didn't get to that part, but I just want to make sure y'all was paying attention. In abject terror, Moses asked Metatron, Who art thou? And the angel replied, I am Enoch, the son of Jared, thy ancestor, and Yahuah has charged me to accompany thee to his throne. And Moses demurred, saying, I am but flesh and blood, and I cannot look upon the countenance of an angel. Whereupon Metatron changed Moses' flesh into torches of fire, his eyes into Merkabah wheels, his strength into an angel's, and his tongue into a flame. And he took him to heaven with a retinue of 30,000 angels, one half moving to the right of them and one half to the left of them. In the first heaven, Moses saw streams upon streams of water, and he observed the whole of heaven consisted of windows, and each of which angels were stationed. Metatron named and pointed out all the windows of heaven to him, the window of prayer and the window of supplication, of weeping and joy, plenitude and starvation, wealth and poverty, war and peace, conception and birth, showers and soft rain, sin and repentance, life and death, pestilence and healing, sickness and health, and many windows more. In the second heaven, and remember earlier when we were reading, we was catching up on some of the Genesis, it taught us about the different heavens. There's 7 heavens, and it taught us about each one and what reside and who reside at each one, right? And also which heaven paradise is in, right? Well, those who pass away, who have been faithful to Yah, where they go until the day of judgment. This place is real, y'all. Like this is what we should have been taught in church. In the second heaven, Moses saw the angel Nuriel standing 300 parasangs high, with his retinue of 50 myriads of angels, all fashioned out of water and fire, and all keeping their faces turned toward the Shekinah while they sang a song of praise to Yahuah. Metatron explained to Moses that these were the angels set over the clouds, the winds, the rains, who return speedily as soon as they have executed the will of their Creator, to their station second heavens, there to proclaim the praise of Yahuah. In the third heaven, Moses saw an angel so tall it would take a human being 500 years to climb to his height. He had 70,000 heads, each head having many mouths, each mouth as many tongues, and each tongue as many sayings. And he, together with his suit of 70,000 myriads of angels, made of white fire, praised and extolled Yahuah. These, said Metatron to Moses, are called Erelim. They are appointed over the grass, the trees, the fruits, and the grain. But as soon as they have done the will of their creator, they return to the place assigned for them and praise Yahuah. In the fourth heaven, Moses saw a temple, the pillars thereof made of red fire, the staves of green fire, the threshold of white fire, the boards and clasps of flaming fire, the gates of carbuncles, and the pinnacles of rubies. Angels were entertaining the temple and giving praise to Yahuah there. In response to a question from Moses, Metatron told him that they presided over the earth, the sun, the moon, the stars, and other celestial bodies, and all of them intoned songs before Yahuah. In this heaven, Moses noticed also 2 great planets, Venus and Mars, each as large as the whole earth. And concerning these, he asked unto what purpose they had been created. Metatron explained thereupon that Venus lies upon the sun to cool him off in the summer, else he would scorch the earth. And Mars lies upon the moon to impart warmth to her, lest she freeze the earth. Arrived in the fifth heaven, Moses saw hosts of angels whose nether parts were of snow and their upper parts of fire. And yet the snow did not melt, nor was the fire extinguished, for Yahuah had established perfect harmony between the 2 elements. These angels, called Ishim, have had nothing to do since the day of their creation, but praise and extol Yahuah. In the 6th of the heavens were millions of myriads of angels praising Yahuah. They are called Erin and Kasdim, watchers and holy ones. And their chief was made of hail. He was so tall it would take 500 years to walk the distance equal to his height. In the last heaven, Moses saw 2 angels, each 500 parasangs in height, forged out of chains of black fire and red fire, the angels Af, anger, and Hema, wrath, whom Yahuah created at the beginning of the world to execute his will. Moses was disquieted when he looked upon them, but Metatron embraced him and said, Moses, Moses, thou art a favorite of Yahuah. Fear not, and be not terrified. And Moses became calm. There was another angel in the 7th heaven, different in appearance from all the others, and of frightful mien. His height was so great, it would take 500 years to cover a distance equal to it. And from the crown of his head to the soles of his feet, he was studded with glaring eyes, at the sight of which the beholder fell prostrate in awe. This one, Metatron, addressing Moses, is Samael, who takes the souls away from man. Whither goes he now? Asked Moses, and Metatron replied, to fetch the soul of Job the pious. Thereupon Moses prayed to Yahuah in these words, Oh, may it be thy will, my God and the God of my fathers, not to let me fall into the hands of this angel. Here in the highest heaven, he saw also the seraphim with their 6 wings. With 2 they cover their face, that they gaze not upon the Shekinah. And with their 2 feet, which being like calf's feet, they hide to keep secret Israel's transgression of the golden calf. With the 3rd pair of wings, they fly and do the service of Yahuah, all while exclaiming, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. The wings of these angels are prodigious size. It would take a man 500 years to traverse their length and their breadth, as from one end of the earth to the other. And Moses saw the 7th heaven and the holy YAH, which supported the throne of Yah, and beheld also the angel Zagzagel, the prince of the Torah and wisdom, who teaches the Torah in 70 languages to the souls of men, and thereafter they cherish the precepts contained therein as laws revealed by God to Moses on Sinai. From this angel with the horns of glory, Moses himself learned all the 10 mysteries. Having seen what there is in the 7 heavens, he spoke to Yahuah, I will not leave the heavens unless thou grantest me a gift. And Yahuah replied, I will give thee the Torah, and men shall call it the law of Moses. And that, my beautiful people, is where we're going to end today. And we're going to pick it back up tomorrow. That was page 221 to 224. And in Exodus, we read Exodus 19, 20, and 21. The law is being given at this time to Israel. All right, beautiful people. So it is Wednesday, January 13, 2021, day 49 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. And of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 718. All right, y'all. Remember, the new moon will be able to sight it tonight, which will begin the 11th month. And after this is the 12th month. And then what is the first month again, which it lines up because Yahuah said this will be the first month for you, Israel, the month of Passover. So we're doing something right as we begin to calculate this, y'all. And remember something we just learned, the windows. Hold on. I put it at. On Passover, the dew. Wait, guys, I put it back in here. It's the title of one of my videos. The heavenly dew, the windows that hold the heavenly dew, is open on Passover night, right? Remember, Passover is the day that Yahuah has set for all generations. When Israel needs to be delivered, it will be Passover. That's a date set aside from the very beginning of creation. Passover. We will be delivered on Passover. We don't know what year yet, but we're going to get real close. Once we start seeing the major plagues ramp up, we're going to probably know. Like, say if everything pop off, like majorly plague after plague after plague after plague for like a year straight, like with no let up, we'll know that next Passover will be the Passover for our deliverance. And we'll see that as we finish reading through this, because Yahuah has set like a solid year for major plagues to break out. It's like a year let up non-stop. We ain't seen nothing yet. Yahuah is just getting started. All right, beautiful people, I love y'all. Let's read the blessing real quick, which is found in Numbers chapter 6. It starts at verse 22. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazirite vow. All right, a Nazirite vow is for men or women to take. All right. Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. And Yahuah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuah bless us and keep us. May Yahuah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name. Whose name? Yahuah's name. He said, And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people, I love y'all, and I'm gonna try and catch some pictures if I can catch the glimpse. If it's not too cloudy, it's guys, that got fog. You see, I tell you, shenanigans. It's fog out there now, so hopefully like this fog was not here. I hadn't even turned around. I wish I could show y'all this. It is like really foggy now. I hope I get to see it. But anyway, y'all. Okay, so we are done. So beautiful and amazing to hear the mighty words of the Most High. How merciful the Most High is to us. Yeah, I know, right? That's the angel that show up, the angel of death. That's his name. So hopefully none of y'all see him anytime soon. So keep Yahuah's commands, and he promises to keep us. All right, beautiful people, I love y'all, and I see y'all bright and early. Check out and see if y'all can catch a glimpse of the new moon. By the time she makes it across the sky today, as the sun sets, you should be able to get a glimpse of her filling, and she will have been took in I think it's like 1/14 portion of her light, so, and you'll only be able to see it like right as they're setting today. So the moon will set almost an hour after the sun sets. So as the sun go down, you should see it. So, but if you don't catch it, you're gonna miss it. But you will see her rise. You'll see her in the sky tomorrow. Yeah, so all right, beautiful people, I love y'all. See y'all bright and early in the morning, 7:15 a.m. Peace. You're welcome, all of y'all.